That's now being asked is that you may have read also that the NPP is coming under attack both within Parliament and outside of Parliament. In Parliament, it is being described by very key people as being asleep and not doing its work as is expected of it as the minority, the major opposition group. You would have heard Professor Kwame Karikari, a senior lecturer at the School of Communication Studies of the University of Ghana, criticize the NPP as having fallen asleep and not doing its work. H. Kwesi Prempeh, who is in the US, also has said that, well, that is putting it mildly. The NPP is actually in a comatose-like situation.
Strange.
When you are in the House as a member of the opposition and outside, you are receiving this sort of criticism from within your own members. We have heard from Atani Kennedy and the rest of them. They are saying you guys are just not working, you're asleep.
I find this assertion rather strange. I recall that the first time I heard about Dr. Kennedy, I said that, well, I've never seen him on the precincts of Parliament, and he has never engaged the parliamentary group on anything at all. But if he had, would have known that, at least I'm talking about this Parliament, starting from 2013, we have held about 13 press conferences, ranging every aspect of the economy. Energy, foreign exchange, the economy, roads and transport, every aspect of the economy. That cannot be a group that is asleep. Now, if you look at the issues that are now in vogue, SADA, the first time SADA came in the news, it was as a result of revelations that members of Parliament picked from the Auditor General's report and spoke to on the floor of the House. Then the press picked it up and they have been running with it. But it was first picked by the minority on the floor of the House, on the judgment debts.
Now, if you think it's just Atani Kennedy and a few others,
no,
let me share with you a few comments that are coming from others too. This one is Francis Bonzi Simpson. He says that the NPP does not even think that the presidency is a job. Neither of the two candidates who have declared, Nana and Alan Kay, both attorneys and both good at advocacy, has outlined what they propose to do as president. That should be our first hint that the 2016 election are going to be another beauty contest that the NPP will lose. Yofi Grant, you know him, don't you?
I do.
Right. He says that is it only the job of the opposition to demand accountability? Isn't it the responsibility of the citizenry? But hear how he goes about it, including the NDC and all others. Then he says that truth is, boys are bred. Too many things to scream about. You scream, and the rest of the town just watch you.
That's exactly
Debate
the point.
and argue it a bit, and life goes on ad infinitum. So is that how you feel, that you are saying things, or you are doing your job, but you're not getting results? So
sometimes
you just
it's actually frustrating that the people you expect to be the beneficiaries of your argument are the ones who wave you off. Oh, makasa, what's coming out of it? And I'm quite disappointed with the intellectuals who are actually not following what is going on the House. I would have expected that somebody who is saying the minority in Parliament, let me take that one first, minority in Parliament is asleep, would take the Hansard day by day and say that on any issue, the minority or the views of the minority have not been succinctly articulated on the floor of the House. Outside the House, the issue that we have raised, the bank, what is it called? The merchant bank issue. We managed to get the speaker, force the speaker to recall Parliament even though in the end we were shut down, but we did not sleep when we thought that it was a matter the whole country.
You promised that you are going to hold a press conference and you make revelations about the true status. It hasn't happened.
No, because we haven't gotten all the information yet. But we will. We don't want to speak to speculation. When we get all the information, we put it out.
Sign that you are running ahead of yourself. You didn't really have anything to use.
No, at the time we said let the investigation show what is really the state.
How long is it taking you to do that investigation
yourself? As long as it will take to get the proper information. We should not be jumping because people want to hear, and then you go and put out things which are not true, and you're embarrassed.
Kobe, as someone says, this opposition is the weakest one in decades.
Probably what we have not done was when we started in '92, taking government to court. But those were necessary because that was what the Constitution was starting, and that there were many areas that the transition from revolution to the constitutional era, there were still rough edges that people were not getting. Now all the smooth lines are clear, and the lines are drawn. What we are not doing now is taking to the streets. Probably, and that's what people think, that we are asleep. But anybody who have been following the debates on the floor of the House, press conferences, would be extremely unfair to suggest that this Parliament, in actual fact, to be frank with you, if anybody would just take time and look at the proceedings, just come and sit with any of the select committees or standing committees and look at the contributions of the members of the floor. Now, there are issues that, but for our contributions, we will not be where we are today. The Monday, we are going back on the Atuabo gas plant. No, Freeport, Atuabo Freeport. We have sat over it because of the issues we raised. The agreements have not been sanctioned for approval by Parliament. And we are raising more issues so that Ghana gets the best value out of it. We will continue to do what is right. When it comes to the party outside Parliament...
Right. Just hold that one. We'll come to outside of Parliament, where you seem to be having your own issues also, and even setting your dates for primaries is becoming a huge debate that you cannot agree at one sitting. Nana, what do you think people are looking at when they say the opposition is asleep? And there's one Douglas who says that they are waiting for things to get so awfully bad that they would win by default. That will not work.
Yes, I think I agree with Joe in this. I mean, people are simply disrespecting the minority. And I think that, like I keep saying, we should learn to respect the institutions, the organs that have been set up. You know, the minority has a limited role to play in governance. It's very clear. They are used to criticize and assist the whole government and everybody to get things done. Now, how do they do it? Like he said, we've gone past the days where the gray areas allow them to run into court and whatnot. Now it's constructive work. Sit in, do research. If they have challenges with research, I think they should be asking for more people to back them, to do actual research, to get out the information, throw it out and all that. But we should stop disrespecting the minority. We should stop disrespecting Parliament. These are our people. They are people we voted into power. You know. Now, I read Professor Kakari's statement, and I have a bit of a problem with it. You know, I understand the sentiment that I was expressing, but you know, when he says that they are not working, so the fourth estate must pick it up, then it means that you should abandon the third estate role. Is being abandoned. You know, he's saying that the press or the media should take up the job. No, they should be complementing the work of that minority. They should be supporting them. If they find things wrong, which ought not to be done, they should go through their parliament or parliamentary representatives to raise the matter up. I'm saying in other jurisdictions, MPs and others do misconduct themselves and whatnot. The press carry it, these things, solid information, solid facts, bring them to Parliament, and the parliamentarians raise them on the floor, and people are punished, people are removed from office and all that. But when you are running contrary, that you are opposition in outside Parliament, you know, you don't help your opposition. And now, Tuesday, there is a mammoth, million man march in Kumasi to do what? To do what our parliamentarians cannot do. And the very sad part of it, it is being organized by NPP leadership, some leadership there, including parliamentary leaders in the Ashanti caucus. I'm saying you're undermining your own authority by encouraging that which ought to be done inside Parliament. You see, your strength is in carrying the views of the people out there. Now, if it's not happening in there, and people outside will have to do it for you, then of course they are entitled to say that you are sleeping or you are comatose, you know.
Dr. Zakaria, this NPP opposition boycotted the president's inauguration. They boycotted the vetting of his ministers as well. I don't know if you find that as they doing their work, and what you think when people say they are not doing their work.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that looking at it, you know, Prof Karikari didn't give us specific reasons why, you know, he thinks that the opposition is not working. However, a number of us, when we look at these things that you mentioned, I look at it as really not working. As a matter of fact, if you are, you know, if you are elected to Parliament to go and play a particular role and you walk out and boycott, that is actually not doing what you are supposed to do. So if scientifically they can prove that they have, you know, stayed out of Parliament for a number of periods, like the boycotts, then they can use that as a basis to say that the minority in Parliament is not working because they have been sent to the Parliament to provide certain rules.
He mentioned to you that they were the first to bring up the SADA matter.
Yes, so right. So
a confirmed issue.
Correct. Again, like Uncle Ato said, the minority in Parliament ought to, you know, really decipher, you know, and then come out to understand their role and how their role is being undermined by other entities and agencies. And you realize that Prof. Karikari is saying that the fourth realm, which is the media, is really doing the work. It's because the minority has failed to point out or rather to guard. So, for instance, in the case of the SADA, I've made it before, you know, there are processes in this country, and it is not just in this country, all over the world. When there is an issue, for instance, when there's an audit, and the audit report is generated, is discussed. When it is discussed, it is referred to the Auditor General Department. The Auditor General Department will look at it and then refer to Attorney General. At the end of the day, the document goes back to Parliament, and it will be analyzed by the Public Accounts Committee, which is a function of Parliament, and the leader of that committee is a minority member. And at that point, they tease out the real concerns of that particular problem. And from there, if there are things that they can be prosecuted, then they push for the prosecution of those who have been found culpable in the report. Now, they raise an issue. They just raise the issue at the, you know, at the initial stages, and then the media picks it up. Instead of them to want the media to understand that they are truncating legal processes that can allow people to be able to perform functions, that can empower them to be able to push for prosecution based on findings. These things are truncated, and it comes to the public domain. If there are anything that, if there are people who can even protect themselves, they quickly, you know, take guard. But these things, they have to tell them, no, hold on, we are following a process, and this process must come to an end. Where the media is interfacing with the legislature is the Public Accounts Committee, and that's why they've made it a public hearing. At that point, any issue that has been exhaustively dealt with by the various bodies that have been given the mandate to deal with them would now, you know, give it to the media, and the media would discuss it. That's one. Again, the second thing that comes when it comes to the role of Parliament, which may be the basis for which people are complaining, and I said again, they've not given us reasons. But on the EPA, Economic Partnership Agreement, you realize that almost every body, media, civil society organizations, the government, everybody has demonstrated and stated its position clearly. I think the minority in Parliament has not been able to state its position on the EPA. It could be one of the things that people are looking at and saying that they are sleeping, because the EPA is a very critical issue of development of this nation, and the position of the minority is critical for the people to understand that they are indeed working. I mean, we all are aware that they initial the interim EPA, but it doesn't mean that they are supporting the current full pact of the EPA. So the position of the minority on the EPA ought to be, made clear. The last but not the least,
Kweku, what's the name? This minority has gone to Parliament, sought to ask questions, even where it has been frustrated, so to speak. It is still out there in the public. What do you see exactly is what people see and they say they are not working?
Well, I don't see anything. I'm really, really wondering what my very good friend, Prof. Karikari, was hitting at.
He's not alone.
Oh, but you mentioned somebody talking of Alan and Nana, and that was completely irrelevant. Why now? They haven't even picked their nomination forms. So who are they?
Even our rules are against them. Making
and they haven't gone. They're going to primaries. Why are they going to align their presidential programs and things to who? That's irrelevant. It doesn't come in at this stage at all. The person is just jumping the gun. So let's focus. And the merchant bank thing to that you asked, that I think is a good point. And I believe the minority are just chasing a mirage. That's why nothing has happened. They have nothing to offer anybody. Take it from me. That is why nothing has yet happened. Otherwise, all the things they had said from September 2012 to today, they should have been able to consolidate it and give it some evidential value. They have nothing to bring on board. But you see, this is a party with two levels, in Parliament and outside Parliament.
Right.
Outside Parliament is a party in transition of some sort. They've organized primaries from the police station level, constituency to regions. They've done the national. So you can understand a certain level, if you like, of concentration on certain internal matters to reorganize a party. But it's a party also with huge representation in Parliament. And I agree 100%. They've been very active. I mean, the media. They've held 13 or so press conferences, both on the economy and elsewhere. It's significant that they haven't spoken on EPA. That is a good point too. You can highlight that and ask them for their views on that. But that omission cannot, be equated to a non-functional parliamentary opposition. I don't believe in that. So unless those making that case give us specifics and suggest that these specifics are so important, but the minority has been silent on those things, then we can make a judgment. Otherwise, I think it's a very sweeping, overgeneralized statement. That's my own involvement, understanding of the situation. But Atu made a certain interesting point about party getting involved in demonstrations. Maybe, unless I misunderstood you. But I recall 1998, when the political parties organized their bread demo, the late Professor Kofi Awono, may he rest in peace, wrote a long piece in the Daily Ghanaian Times, insisting that parties with representation in Parliament have no business in the streets. But come 2001 and 2, we had March for Survival, if you recall, organized by the party in opposition, that's the NDC, alongside its allies. There's nothing stopping political parties from organizing demonstrations, even if they have representation in Parliament.
And in fact, in this Kumasi demo, the demo is being up to back what is happening in Parliament. There are two things. And it's good to do with power fluctuation, which is unprecedented or has no equal in anywhere in the country.
Fact. That's factual.
That's factual. You cannot.
I haven't been there for a long time.
Right, I go to Bekwai and you can get on and off about 15 times in one day.
You don't mean it.
You ask anybody.
Data to compare.
Wow.
Where else? Then the other one is our capitation. The capitation one is we actually moved the motion in Parliament, demonstrated that it is unconstitutional because it is discriminating against people living in Ashanti region, showed the person living at Adanse Praso, which is in Ashanti, and you cross the river, you're in Asim Praso, the differences in healthcare delivery and costs to both of them. After we did all that to the end, then the speaker said, no, this is such a big issue that I think that it should not be a one-party thing. Then the NDC said, okay, we'll come with, we'll work with you. Eventually, they decided that we'll come with a counter motion that instead of scrapping it, spread it to all other
Is
places.
the demo being organized exclusively by the party or in collaboration with other groups?
No, in this case, people living in Ashanti region, organized by the party, but in support of what we're saying. When the thing is not good for me, why should I argue that it should be spread to other people?
Joe, but the point I'm making, the point I'm making is I'm not saying that the party should not organize demonstrations.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that with Professor Kakari's statement, you realize that the example that you're giving was news to Kweku. You know, if you raise issues in Parliament and you are misunderstood or you are not getting on, your business is for you, the minority, to highlight it, to educate your people. You understand? You don't just educate your people by going to your region and organizing a 2 million man march. I'm saying that people like Kweku, who may be sympathizers, it's not the NPP man, it's sympathizers, sympathizers, you know. But at least we don't understand it. You think that the issue that you're talking about, if you had explained for all of us, from here, why should there be discrimination in capitation grant?
Yeah.
It could be the same thing happening in my village.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll be probably come and join you in your march.
That's
but
it.
when you limit it to it, the only exception is that you shouldn't wear Alan T-shirt or Nana Akufo-Addo T-shirt. What are you talking about?
That is a way of showing that the party is taking a lead.
No, making a
for
point.
the people in the region.
No, just making a point on the capitation thing. You see,
Yeah.
what he said is that they cited an issue of discrimination. It means that they don't really just have a problem with it, but the fact that it's not nationwide. That is the issue of discrimination.
No.
Can I conclude? You are saying discrimination. On the basis of discrimination, when they spread it, it's not more discrimination.
Let's move on and wrap up on this
It's
point.
affecting
So it is not just
health
discriminatory.
delivery.
I'm saying that do more public education yourself as a minority. Let your
Public
voice be
education
heard.
is done with the press. The press, as we speak today, I'm saying that is not people friendly.
Joseph,
And the 2 million people,
you don't have one, you don't have two of your members who are saying that you are sleeping on the job.
That's it.
Who are they?
So what are you going
The
to say to
people-
them?
No,
all
I
you're going to
think,
tell
for
them is that we are
example-
working. That's
No,
it.
for example, I think there are people who are not taking interest in your work, but sitting outside and assuming that because he is not seeing, he is not taking interest. I've taken the case of.
Well, he's not hearing.
He's not hearing.
And that's the point you
No,
make.
but at the press conferences, where did they go?
Maybe you are not doing enough.
you're
That's the
not
point.
The
doing
press
enough.
conferences, 13 in
That's
one
in
1 year,
demonstration.
13 in 1.5 years is not
They
enough.
expect you to go beyond press conference.
And then do what?
Demonstrate.
On the floor of the House? Nobody who is a keen observer of Parliament can say that on the floor of the House we are lacking. No. Actually, anybody who observes what is going on in Parliament
outside
will
of
show
Parliament,
that we
outside
are
of
carrying
Parliament,
the House.
let's end on this briefly. Outside of Parliament, what's this problem you're having with your nominations and the process towards primaries?
Well, I don't know what problem there is. There's absolutely no problem. First, what we must understand is that our election delayed. Our constitution, we suspended our constitution, so to speak, so that we pushed back our election, the national election. When we started the process from the polling stations, at the time that we were supposed to cap it with the national elections, we had challenges and we pushed it back. By the time we finished with the national elections, the time to run the presidential had been cut short a while. Now, after we have gone through all that, the next thing is to set the date. By our constitution, it should not be later than 6th of December this year. And then, because we have had these challenges already, time has been eating into. The steering committee had met, the regulations had to be approved by the National Council.
The National Council met yesterday.
That's right. But
And fought.
no, we didn't fight.
Oh,
at all,
guy,
at all.
daily guy today, this morning.
Delegate was not in the house.
Oh.
They were not inside. So they only speculating.
Vice-
No, they don't have
Vice
to, they
chairman,
don't have to
they
be
don't have
in
to
there.
be-
No, no, but they are
The vice
speculating.
chairman-
There was no fight at all.
No,
There was
you
heated-
can't bring in a vice chairman. This is mischief.
Oh, he's my
No,
colleague.
no,
it's
heated
mischief.
argument as to whether council is properly constituted or not.
Yes.
That was, it took time.
Well,
but that argument has started.
But there are
the
those
day
who
before.
disagree with the dates that is being communicated for the primaries, isn't it?
If a party like NPP, at all meetings, we had everybody agreeing that it will not be a democracy. Well, that Delhi guy. I think what Delhi guy is saying here is that he was giving a point of no. I think this is certainly. Sorry, if I may finish.
Okay.
Now the point we're making here is that all the processes. The last bit is about the National Council. Okaying the executive, National Executive Committee's decisions. Our constitution says that the final one is.
So is December 6th fixed or is only proposed?
Not yet.
No, yesterday it was announced. It's fixed.
Is it a proposal or is fixed?
No, now the final National Council has firmed it. But the National Council has the power to review that.
Okay.
So as of today, the announcement is made. Some people propose that we should do it earlier. Others says no, let's not box ourselves beyond this time. And the people argue, no, if there's something wrong on that day, you can't go beyond. No, once you start on that day, you are within your limits. So as for
how do you see this being very practical? Because there's a possibility that you could have 5 candidates. When you have 5 candidates, you need a special college, don't you?
If you have more than 5.
When you have more than 5. And again, if you go and you can't have an outright winner, you need to do a runoff. And yes,
yeah, first two,
if you don't get the 50% plus 1, you need to do a runoff. And it is you are supposed to have a candidate by the 6th. And if you are doing the process on the 6th, I mean, is that the best thing to do?
Well, I think they will meet the deadline. The 6th will be, it's within time. That's my feeling. Some of these whole things we hear and do, the party has gone through that experience many times. And if any sense of history, you know that by 6th they would have elected. So I don't think it's a big deal.
Some say it suggests to you it's what the incumbent executive, the new executive, are unable to do, because when it was Jake and his team's time, they came out, it was clear there were no contestations, they had the date, each process was announced.
Go through history. They've had challenges. Various executives always at different levels of challenges. I'm not too sure there's a material basis for any comparative analysis at this stage in terms of assessing the efficiency or capability of the executives. I don't think there's a basis for it. It's too early.
How about the money that is being put forward? 85,000, is it?
Yeah.
75,000.
75 as a file.
10 for filing.
10 for
the
picking the
Yes,
nomination.
I've heard people complaining about it. But what's wrong with that? You can't mobilize 85,000. You want to go and run for presidential primaries. You better lock your door and sleep at home.
Mobilize it from where?
Oh, so where do the parties mobilize their monies from? You see, let's cut this hypocrisy out. Where do these political parties, even the ruling parties, where do they organize their monies from? They're supposed to file accounts and things with the EC. Let's go and check the accounts they filed. If anybody has something of evidential value that is corrupt money, drug money, bring the evidence. Otherwise, I'm not interested. 85,000 cedis. If you can't pay, lock yourself in your bedroom and close your ambition down.
I see.
In fact,
some say this will encourage corruption, because when the people who will pay this money, eventually, if you win, they will come asking for the money back. Just briefly before we go on.
Then all the parties.
No, I'll just give you this. You see, that in 2010, the fee was 25,000. Now, look at the rate, 25,000 in dollar terms today, and compare that to $75,000 terms today. That's how we looked at it. That in real terms, there's no real change.
I see.
It's a rate of...
It can be lesser at the parliamentary level, but not the presidential level.
Yeah, thanks so much. You know, just before I comment on that one, I was just trying to...
No, we don't have time.
Okay.
Do it quickly.
Yeah. You know, the timing of the criticism of the MPs, you know, sometimes can also be mischievous, given the, you know, the fact that they are
going
on
back
recess.
to that issue.
All right, yeah. But the 85,000
I'll come
issue,
to you,
you know, the 85,000 issue. Personally, I think that, you know, those of us who have been advocating for the removing corruption or tendencies for corrupt practices in our political party administration, have the view that the figure is too high.
Then it should be free.
Because we have made the argument that even in an attempt to limit, if not completely eliminate, the tendencies for corruption or the tendencies for businesses actually hijacking political party administration, it is good for us to create a fund where the state can actually support people to more or less run their political party.
At this point, we are talking about internal elections.
Internal elections. You want the state to finance that?
I'm not saying. I'm just giving you a general. I'm saying a general principle
across the country.
A general principle that parties are supposed to espouse to try to, to prove that they believe in this principle. The principle of monetizing political party administration is not good enough, and I think that the figure is too high. You have to have other means of really generating income for the running of your political party.
It should be free.
For instance, if you peg it at 85,000, it's more or less trying to gag.
Let's make it free.
It's more or less trying to gag.
Yeah, let me finish off there.
Right.
Yes.
You see, basically, I think the NPP, I'm being very generous, is masking a very huge problem, internal problem, the big division, which makes them even unable to settle on the date for the election. It's a bad deal. It's real, but they are masking it because there are some who say that give us a longer time so our candidate can campaign. The other one is, well, you can cover it, but in politics, there's nothing you can hide.
The official communication is this date, but you have the other group that is going around.
We are commentators, so we don't deal with just official data. We are commentators. I'm saying that like a prophet, I'm just saying that it's a reality. We can see it.
Do you think it is just about their candidates, or, for example, they are telling you that their Article 12A says that where, however, no candidate obtains more than 50% of the vote cast, there shall be a runoff between the first two contestants, and the contestant with simple majority shall be the party's presidential candidate. If you are doing it on the 6th, and on the 6th, this is what is going to happen. How are you going to be able to produce the candidates on the 6th?
Why was the chairman, Chairman Afoko...
But the elections could be held the same day.
I'm coming. Why was
the
Chairman...
runoff can be held the same day, at the same venue.
Okay. Why was Chairman Afoko literally battling to try and get the position changed? I'm saying that I'm quoting. No, bring your paper, your guy.
No, but that's
not correct.
correct.
Actually, people other than Chairman Afoko who wanted it earlier.
Okay.
Chairman Afoko's position is that
I was taught early in politics by Dr. Beda, someone others, that when your opponent is down, you go to the neutral corner. You don't have time. So I will withdraw and let NPP deal with their matter since they don't want me to comment on theirs. So I'll go to a neutral corner.
Okay, so this is one MPP member, Charles Tego. He says that the date for the MPP presidential primaries being fixed, he doesn't agree with it because he thinks that the problem might come up, and he doesn't know what the National Council will do if there's a question of a runoff. That's what he's saying.
Can't they run the same day?
I see. Well,
sometimes they run.
Well, Eliasu Intamale says that what we need in the NPP is peace and absolute peace, a reason we must support the national executives. Thank you very much. This is where we draw the curtain on the show today. You can call Latida on 0204-336-444 for your deliveries of what I'm wearing and even better ones. This show is produced by Sedem Ofori, Nicolas Opuni, assisted him as well as Emmanuel Anten. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. My guest has been Abdel Malik Kwekubaku Jr., Nana Atudazi, Joe Oseiwusu, and Dr. Mawea Zakaria. Have a good afternoon.